Hello, as Chuck likes to say, bagels and baguettes. So this is me when I'm actually not being a lazy housewife. It does happen every once in a while. I did promise to make my man some doenjang-jjigae, and so I'm going to share that with you. So, Chuck, tell everybody what doenjang-jjigae is.
Doenjang-jjigae is Korean soybean paste soup.
With tofu.
With tofu. It is somewhat similar, vaguely, to Japanese miso, but that's more of a thin soup. This is more of a stew kind of situation.
All right, so let's talk about what we've got here. So now the recipe that I'm using is obviously from Maangchi because, well, she's my fave. I actually ordered her new cookbook, so we'll be getting that in the mail soon. Anyways, so we're not using shrimp because seafood. We're also not using anchovy stock because seafood. So instead of anchovy stock, I have made my own vegetable stock using Better Than Bouillon, not paid promotion by the way, but Better Than Bouillon. This is their vegetable base. I use their bases to make my own stock half the time because it just allows me to make my own flavors and I prefer it that way. So we're doing a vegetable base. And then for the meat, instead of the shrimp, we're going to go with some gepsal, which is, Chuck?
That is uncured pork belly. It's kind of Korean bacon, but it's not smoked or cured like bacon is. So it's just raw pork belly.
So now, typically, when you're going to make this using her recipe, you're going to use the onion, the potato, the zucchini, the green onions, and I'm going to cheat in cheonggochu. So this is a Korean chili pepper. And depending upon the size of them, they can be super hot. So you would use that. You would not use the carrot, but we had extra carrot, so we're going to add that. And you would probably not use bean sprouts, so we had extra of that, so we're going to use that as well.
Actually, that is fairly common to have bean sprouts in it.
Oh, okay, so bean sprouts are common. But her recipe didn't say bean sprouts. And then we've got the medium firm tofu, which I haven't opened yet. So for starters, we are going to put this in the pan and start kind of browning it up a little bit. So that's where we're headed to. Now, obviously, since she uses shrimp, she doesn't probably have to deal with this stuff as much. I've already got my stock already cooked over here. I went ahead and did that earlier and just added the stuff to my water. That's about 2.5 cups of water, maybe a little bit more. But I added that already, so that's ready to go. In the
Korean grocery stores, you actually can get like a
pre-made soup base.
And like an instant anchovy soup base, but we've never tried it because I'm afraid of it.
Well, also seafood.
Well, I've had the anchovy stock. The stock itself is not bad as long as you make sure all the stuff is taken out of it and it's not too strong. But I'm afraid that instant mixed stuff is going to be like super strong.
To be fair, when they do the anchovy stock, because Amy made this for us before, the first time we had it at the house, Amy made it. You put the anchovies.
Oh yeah, you put the
they're
anchovies.
Dried. You put them in a cheesecloth.
It
goes in a bag and it goes in the water and you boil that. I'm not a huge fan of the smell of it.
Oh, it doesn't smell good, no.
So that's one. But then again, you add you didn't really taste it as much when we had it, but it's the smell for me. Whereas this vegetable broth smells lovely. I think I could just drink that. All right, so we're just browning this up. Hello, May May. Mayhem is down here waiting.
May May is very interested in what's in the pot.
And she likes potatoes.
Doesn't matter if they're raw or not.
Was it a potato? Uh-oh. I've got incoming.
Oh, is there incoming?
There's incoming.
Incoming!
They heard potato. Potato? Sucky dog, where's potato? Come on. And potato. Yes, it's not sweet potato, but it is potato. All right. So I have fed the doggies. You can have a little more later. So the main part here is just going to be browning. Mostly because we want this cooked. A little bit of brown to it before we add all the liquid and stuff in with it.
Well, you're at the point I'd go ahead and add the hard veggies if you're...
All right. So hard veggies being potatoes and carrots.
Now, since this is not the ramen that we made in the other video, you can add a little salt and pepper to season these if you're feeling the need.
Do you feel the need that we need to?
Maybe a little bit. Not that kind of salt.
That's pepper.
Oh, that's pepper. Okay. We're not slow cooking, so you can add a little bit of the... That should be enough.
Okay. It was a very exact measurement, guys. Well, at this point, I think I'm also going to go ahead and add my garlic in.
Yep, go ahead.
Let me check my numbers. I want to say it was 4 cloves. I'm also really lazy when it comes to garlic, so I don't chop my own garlic. I do, however, use minced garlic that's pre-minced. 2. It might be time for a new container. Yep. And magically the new jar appears. Alright. So.
I say don't pull a chuck and let it start sticking to the bottom of the pan.
A little bit, but that's okay because I'm getting ready to add liquid to it. So this one is relatively quick to cook. It doesn't take that long. It's mostly you're going to chop your veggies relatively thin because you're wanting them to cook fast, because basically when you start boiling you just want it to cook. We've got our 4 cloves of garlic in. I think we're browned enough. Do you think we're browned enough? Or do you want it a little browner?
Nah, you should be good.
Okay. Alright, so I'm going to add my stock. And I don't have to measure that because I already measured. And then when I add that, I'm also adding my onion and my pepper. I'm going to go ahead and put zucchini in too. No, I'm going to boil first. I'm going to boil first, then do zucchini. Alright, so I'm going to let that start to cook a little bit. We've got to finish cooking those veggies.
Yeah, let it come up to a boil.
Yep. So we'll be back in just a minute. Alright, so as you can see over here, if you want to take a look, I have added the zucchini in the meantime. We're getting a good boil on it. And I also added about a half a teaspoon of gochugaru, which is the red pepper seasoning. So some people add it, some people don't. We kind of like it, but I'm starting with a smaller amount just because I don't want to overpower it, because we do have the green chilies in there. We've also gone ahead and chopped up our tofu, so it's ready for when we're ready to put it on. And then we have our doenjang, which is brand new, just opened, and it is ready. So the recipe calls for about 5 tablespoons of this. That makes me a little nervous. And if I remember when Amy was making it, she said start with an amount and then you can add to it if you need more. So that's the game plan here, is I'm going to start with, I think we decided on 3? 3. So there's a stew out there that is made with a lot of the doenjang. And pretty much everyone has pretty much told me that I probably would not like it. It
is a very strong soybean flavor.
It's the smell too, I think. Part of it.
It has a very strong smell, which throws a lot of people off. I'm not too fond of the smell, but I do like the soup itself. But I call it super doenjang soup.
Yeah, so he was like, go ahead and put all 5 in. And I was like, that'll be super doenjang. What am I going to eat? He didn't seem all that concerned, but he was generous and said I could start with 3 and then we'll taste this. So at this point, you're going to let this cook for about 15 minutes. We're probably going to let it cook for about 10 and then taste it to see if I need to add a little bit more, maybe 5 just to see, because that'll give that plenty of time to add in, and we can make a decision whether we want to add more gochugaru, whether we want to add more doenjang, because the last step is adding the tofu and then the green onions. And then of course, because I did not set rice in the rice cooker. Okay, I have done my housewife fail in that I did not make the rice in the rice cooker. But when you've got this convenient little cooked white rice, can you really complain, Chuck?
Yeah, not really.
Okay, so we have rice. So we'll throw that in the microwave too, because that's going with it. So that's where we are for right now. We're going to let this boil for a little bit, and then we're going to check it in a few minutes. All right, so I'm going to add my bean sprout now. So I got about a handful of that. I'm just going to sprinkle it in there. I kind of like bean sprouts, so I might add a little bit more.
We did add some extra water to that because we're cooking it with the boiling it with the lid off. So we didn't want it to boil down and get too thick.
We also ended up with 3.5 tablespoons of the doenjang as our choice as we were tasting. So I'm adding in my bean sprouts. I'll let them get in there. I'm going to make sure they get in the juice. And then we are going to add the tofu. I'm just going to...
Which I cubed up earlier.
You did, and I'm just going to dump it in there. Honestly, I never would have thought that I would say this, but part of my favorite thing about kimchi-jjigae and doenjang-jjigae is the tofu in the stew. I have no idea why, but that is my favorite part of the stew.
It's because it doesn't really have a flavor, so it just soaks up what you cook it in, and it tastes like the sauce.
Is that what it is?
Yep.
So we'll just leave that on for a little bit, so about 3 minutes, and now we're going to pop in our rice.
Yep, that's a microwave. Y'all know how to work that.
I think you guys know how to work a microwave.
So, normally if you were in a Korean household, they would, well, first off, we wouldn't be using bowls this big.
I was going to say, and second off, they would have made their rice in a rice cooker.
Yeah, but beside that, normally they would serve soup, the soup in a bowl, and then you'd have that little steel bowl on the side with your rice in it, because you're supposed to dip your rice, and then run it into the soup, and then you eat it.
Or potentially everyone eats out of the big soup bowl
Right.
with their own rice.
Yeah, they're, depending on where you eat, sometimes they may just give you a big old pot of soup, and then you have your little bowl of rice, and you, in that case, you may dip your soup, a spoonful of soup, and then put that in your rice, and then scoop that up and eat that. But what we're going to do, because we're American, we're going to put about a half of that bowl in each bowl, if that makes any sense. A half bowl of rice in each bowl. And then we're just going to add the soup right on top.
Actually, let's be honest. If you guys ever go out, which I recommend you doing so, and watching the better video, which is Maangchi's video, you will see that I've done this completely different than she does it, but this is my American version of her recipe. So I feel like it's fair. Fair?
Fair.
All right, so we are going to serve it up.
So we have taste adjusted for our preferences.
I feel like you and I need to switch so that I can hold the camera while you eat.
Well, you go ahead and take a test, because I'm already standing here holding the camera.
I'm not supposed to taste test my own creation, am I? Is that how this works?
Sure you are. You got to eat it.
After you've tasted it to make sure it doesn't kill anyone. All right, here we go. Taste test. Sorry, I got to blow on that because that's hot. I can see this. I don't know if you guys can see the steam, but the steam is like bubbling off of it.
It's rather hot. It just came off the stove.
But I'm not interested in burning my mouth. I like my version of doenjang-jjigae. But you were the ultimate taste tester, and I did make this for you. So.
Says the lady who says, I can't taste anything because I can eat damn near anything.
But I made this for you. So the really more important thing for me is, do you like it? Because it was made with love.
As long as it wasn't made with arsenic.
Aren't you just glad I didn't make it with love the way the anime that we watched does? It's a whole different kind of love, babe. Close in on the face here.
It's good. It's not too bean pasty. The veggies are good and cooked. We may have wanted to wait a little longer to put the zucchini in. It's a little it's a little soft.
But I kind of like my zucchini a little soft sometimes.
But the flavor's good. It's got veggies and meat. That's always good. I'd say it's a success.
Woot! All right, so we will link Maangchi's recipe down in the bottom and her video because it's better than mine. But
that's not hard. Our video is kind of sketchy at times.
Hey, I did a really good job on this recipe.
The recipe, yeah, I'm talking about our videoing skills.
Yeah, well, I'm holding the camera, so I guess we are questionable at this point. All right, so you gonna take us out of here?
Yep, we're gonna go eat our foods, defend ourselves from the dogs as we try to do that, and finish watching Lilo and Stitch, which is on the TV.
Woot!
So, like, subscribe, do the internet stuff. Let us know if you want if there's anything particular you want us to do. And we will see y'all next time around.
See ya.